Hey guys, Dave with Moniology. Hope everyone is having a great Christmas day. Today is December 25th, 2017, and this is the Christmas Day special Precious Metals Sector Review. For those of you who are new to our videos, what we do is we take a look at charts from weekly perspectives, try to get us a better understanding of what's going on in the longer trends in the market to help us find the sectors that we want to be in, and then from there do our homework and select the individual names that we want to go long or short depending on the time frame. Anyway, so we start here with gold. Gold weekly chart here. We've been saying that this particular shakeout here is nothing to be concerned about, and sure enough, we fell below that 38 level, but we still were above the lower Bollinger Band and ultimately above the 1200 mark here. And now this was kind of like a fake breakdown below the 1240 level. And sure enough, we're starting to rally back above that 50 on the weekly RSI. A very positive development, and I'll show you why in later charts here, why we think that the precious metals bull run is just getting started, and ultimately we're going to get to that 1380 level in the not too distant future, ultimately break higher from this multi-year consolidation that we've seen in gold. Looking at the MACDs, the weekly MACDs are starting to curl towards zero. And you've got a lot of positive indicators that suggest that we're finally starting to move higher in this space. Look at the accumulation is starting to pick up as well, and so we like this opportunity here in precious metals. Taking a look at silver, unlike gold here, where we kind of broke out a long time ago from this downtrend, silver has basically been in a downtrend since 2016. We haven't been able to break this wedge. We think that that's going to change very soon. You found support at the 40 level on the RSI, which is important. And if this breaks 50, which we think it will in the not too distant future, ultimately this wedge is going to break to the upside. That's your indicator to go long in terms of a long-term investment. Right now this is just a bounce trade, but ultimately if this breaks to the upside, then that's where we can see tremendous upside potential. 22 at a minimum, possibly as high as 28 to 32 on the price in silver. Taking a look at platinum. Platinum is kind of broke out of this downtrend here in October. We consolidated above this trend line here, and now we're starting to rally again. And this chart is actually not too dissimilar from the uranium chart, that URA sector. But if you draw this particular line like this, we were basically consolidating this breakout right above this breakout right here, and we're consolidating above this downtrend, which is very positive, and we're finally starting to move towards making a run towards breaking above the 50 on the weekly RSI. Once that happens, we think that there's tremendous upside. There's just a lot of potential in platinum. It's been beaten and battered and bruised, and so there's a lot of consolidation going on in the sector. That's what you want to see. And once this ultimately does a breakout, the first long-term target here is 1200. So tremendous upside in this particular metal, and we like the risk-reward at this point. Taking a look at HUI, which is the Gold Bugs Index. Why we're so positive on the precious metal space is, well, unlike the metal, which is just slightly has broken out of this downtrend and it's been consolidating for a while, this particular Gold Bugs Index has broken out and it's beautifully retraced back down here to the breakout zone, consolidated above the breakout zone, and now we broke higher out of this wedge, falling bullish wedge, and this is a very positive development. Once we break, we might have a little bit of consolidation here, but once we break out above the 50 on the weekly RSI, that's your sign that this wants to move higher, and ultimately we think the first price target is that 300 zone, and so that's a tremendous move. That's almost a 75 move to the upside, and sure enough, the more junior you go, you can have multi-100% moves to the upside. The MACDs were always showing that, unlike here where the MACDs basically hit 3-year lows, MACDs did not confirm this particular retracement here where we had this basically double bottom, but MACDs didn't suggest that this is the start of a new downtrend. It just suggested this is a pullback consolidation, which ultimately is very often the case after a major breakout from a massive downtrend. So taking a look at silver versus gold ratio chart, you want to see silver outperform gold if this is a genuine breakout happening here, and it's finally starting to do so. Obviously this is not necessarily, a couple of weeks doesn't make a story. You want to break out above the 38 on level on the RSI and ultimately break out above 50 to confirm that ultimately this is indeed a bull market. But nonetheless, it's something to keep an eye out for. We had a couple of weeks here, so far so good, and it's no surprise that we bottomed out here almost at the same level, 0.1237, 0.1237 on the ratio. Now what's interesting is, although the price ratio was a double bottom, the divergence was positive. So RSI was here. This time around it was right here last time around, so that's a positive development on this double bottom, and ultimately we think this resolves its way higher. Now the ratio chart is gold miners versus the metal, GLD. You want to see the gold miners outperform the metal. We've seen since basically August of 2016 that was not the case. The miners have been getting hammered, even though the metal was basically has been flat. But it's been creating this kind of rounded base here, which is a very beautiful pattern above this breakout zone. And now we're starting to move higher. We had this really nice hammer pattern where it looks like we're on the verge of crossing the zero mark on MACDs, and we're right below the 200 moving average, 200-week moving average on this ratio. If this breaks higher, expect tremendous upside. 22 to 25 is definitely in terms of the ratio, but ultimately this is going to move much higher if this can break this particular line of the 22 to 22 on this ratio chart. Another ratio chart are the juniors versus the majors. You want to see the juniors outperform the majors in any true uptrend. And finally, we're starting to see momentum break out. So even though we kind of are still at this double bottom level here, as we saw in basically April and May of this year, but momentum here is much higher at the bottom, and it's starting to break out higher today than it was when we were at 161. So that's what you want to see, and ultimately there's a lot of resistance here on this ratio chart. There's the middle Bollinger Band, there's a 50, there's the 200-week moving average, but once that breaks out, expect the juniors to really fly against the majors, and that's definitely a positive development. Now taking a look at those majors, the majors have consolidated, as I pointed out, above this downtrend breakout, and now we're starting to move. You want to see, for those of you who are swing traders long, you want to see this 25 area break to the upside. That's your signal cue to buy higher for a price target of about 31 on a weekly. But look, we've consolidated here in RSI as well. We've created positive divergence here. We're above the 50 on the RSI level, which is higher than when price was at higher points. So momentum is leading this rally, which is very positive. Expect to see 25 broken to the upside very soon. Finally, on this particular sector review are the junior miners, which is the sector that's been completely beaten down, and we think that there is tremendous upside here. So if this can break above that 34 to 35 level here, that's going to signal a move towards 45, possibly 50 in the coming weeks ahead. Ultimately, why we like this, aside from all the various other evidence we've presented thus far, is that stochastics look good, MACDs are moving to cross above zero, but ultimately it's being led by momentum. This is very important. You had this false breakdown over here, and now we're above the 50 on the weekly RSI. We're above the same level when price was around 35, 36, so we're only at 33.50. Momentum is higher today than it was then. That's very positive development, and ultimately when you look at the individual names, we see a lot of accumulation taking place in our precious metal space. For those of you who want to have exclusive ideas in terms of the names that we're looking at, please subscribe to our Patreon campaign there, and we would really appreciate the support. And you'll have a view of our watch list, which we point out names that are really starting to break out. But overall, you're going to do fine in most of these names as the sector breaks higher. You just want to be in the names that are strongest momentum wise. Guys, thank you for watching. For those of you who celebrate, Merry Christmas, and stay tuned for some additional videos being posted today. Take care.